Welcome, everyone, to Phonogenics 101. It is March 2022, and we're here to talk about side 2 of Joni Mitchell's Night Ride Home. Bob was not here to keep us in line, so it turned into a 2-part discussion. Thank you to all my Patreon subscribers, many of which are in the room right now. So thank you so much for supporting me. I really appreciate it. Thanks to all the people that subscribed on YouTube. Thanks to everyone that leaves the YouTube comments on how we can do this better. I am so thankful for just people sitting at their computer telling me how to do things differently. It has made a huge impact. Just kidding. We're just a bunch of people just sitting around chatting about music. We're not professionals. We're not following a format. It's just like we're sitting in the living room talking about the albums we love. Sometimes we strike gold. Sometimes we don't. And if you're along for the ride, here we are. I wouldn't want to do it any other way than we do it now because it's just such a pleasure. So we're here to talk about Night Ride Home from 1991. I'll go around the circle and introduce everyone. And if you want to just talk a little bit about yourself. In my upper left, I have Michael Paz.
Hi, everybody from New Orleans, Louisiana, post Mardi Gras. Most people are on the wagon right now, which I am. I'm having a faux chelada tonight. No tequila in it, just soda water and Bloody Mary mix with lots of spices. And so, yeah, doing good down here. Good to be back. Welcome back, Bob.
Thanks.
Yeah, and that's next on my screen here is we have Bob back.
Hey.
Back from I'll let you talk,
from,
Bob. This is your story.
from Greenville, South Carolina, February the 16th, I went in for open heart surgery. It was going to be a triple bypass. Once they got in there, they did another 4. So I had what they call a cabbage 7. But it was extremely successful. My surgeon is one of the best in the country. I'll go see him tomorrow for a follow-up, but I'm already going for long walks. My PT guy showed up today and threw up his arms and said, I got nothing in my bag of tricks. It's a challenge for you. So I'm going to, we'll do one more meeting and I'm going to write you off. It's been really, really nice. And then the love and support from not just Joni people, of course, but all my friends and family, literally all over the world, has been very meaningful and powerful for me. I really, really appreciate that. And as far as Night Ride Home, just in a nutshell, it was a big breath of fresh air in 91 after Chalkmark, which of course you all know I did not care for. She dumped all the gimmickry and went back to organic songs that meant something to her. Her guest stars were not people she had to show off. They were people who were like, okay, who knows who David Beerwald is? Who knows who Karen Paris is? She got them for what they could contribute to the music, not the record jacket. So Night Ride Home was a real wonderful, superb album, and I couldn't be happier that she did this at that time.
Well, Bob, I'm glad you could come in from the cold with us.
Coming from the rain today. It wasn't cold, it was rainy here.
All right, next we have David.
That's me. I'm David. I'm here in New York City, outside my window there. And I got nothing to say. Said it last week. Hi, glad to be here.
All right, up next, also in New York State, but not New York City, is our friend Sue.
Hello. So, I love Night Ride Home. And I also want to say that, I don't know if I ever say this when you introduced me, but I founded the guitar and piano database like about 25 years ago. And
Thank you,
still going strong.
That's a really big deal in the Joni universe. So thank you for everything.
Yeah, I don't know why I don't bring it up, but you want to learn how to play Joni Mitchell songs the way she plays them? Go there. And some people, I got gift trolls on there too.
Oh, do you?
What is the actual name of it, Sue?
It's the.
How would I direct somebody to it?
Yeah, it's JoniMitchell.com, guitar and piano database. And I have a YouTube channel. I'm doing some self-promotion here.
I love it. You should, after all the work you've put in.
But I also have friends who help me, like Dave. Dave did all the piano stuff. And then there's Howard Wright in England, who's an amazing guy. I learned how to play People's Parties from him in 1994 in Open D, and that changed my life.
Oh.
Good old Howard. So.
All right, next on my grid we have Les.
I yield back the remainder of my time to Jeremy.
Chris is next.
Just north of New York here. I don't have too much more to add to, my introduction from last week. I love this album. It was the one that came after a meeting that I actually had with her, so I was looking forward to it with intense, anticipation, and it did not disappoint. Of course, I think I said this last week. You look for little bits and pieces of yourself in whatever there is there, thinking that you made such a earth-shattering contribution toward her creative, abilities. But no, it's all there and it's all wonderful. And I couldn't have been happier with this record when I got it. Thank you, Joni.
Absolutely. All right, Mark is next.
I'm Mark Scott. I live just north of Seattle. I first heard this record in Tower Records, but I told that story last week. Dave Blackburn mentioned last week that he thought this was just kind of a continuation of her exploration of electronic synthesized music. And I listened to the record again last night and I could hear it this time. I don't think I paid much attention to it before, but it's different. It's not the driving drum machine fills all over it. It's beautiful, I think. But anyway, I'm done.
All right, Jack is next.
Yeah, I'm Jack in Bartlett, Illinois, in my basement. Trying it from the basement this time instead of my office where I usually sit in for these sessions. But don't really have much to say until we get into the songs. So
Cool. Up next is Laura.
Hi, Laura in Arkansas. And I'm so glad you brought up the Guitar Tab Database, Sue, because that's really what cinched me to this group. I was looking for Joni chords, and I had no idea that she actually made up her own chords. I just knew I couldn't play the songs the way they were written in the bookstore books. They were wrong, and I had given up on them for maybe, 15 to 20 years, and then found that database. My husband was outside cleaning the pool, and I played Conversations inside. I found it and I was like, oh my God, it sounds right. And I ran outside and played it for him, and he was like, wow, that sounds right. So yeah, that database is awesome. Looking forward to the rest of the album tonight.
All right, and our final panel member is Jim.
Hello again. It's great to be connected to the tribe. Thanks, Jeremy, for that. I'm in Central Ohio. It's good to see Bob up and around. Only the good die young, blood.
You're stuck with me, Jim.
All right, so we discussed side one last week after about 3.5 hours. Oh, wait a second. We have one more coming in.
Someone's knocking.
Someone's knocking at the door. Reuben, your timing is perfect because we just did the last introduction, but you're really the last introduction. So, Reuben.
Hello, I'm Reuben. I am from Portland, Maine, and Night Ride Home is one of my top 3 Joni albums. I'm glad we split it over 2 nights to get the time it deserves.
Even without my computer dying, I don't think we could have done it all in one night because we all would have been falling asleep. All right. So, we call it side 1 and side 2, but by the time this album came out, I bought it on CD. So I guess we'll just call it part 1, part 2. But part 2 began with a long song. I don't know the exact amount because I'm lazy, but 6 or 7 minutes. Now there is a video version. Did anyone have that VHS, the Joni Mitchell video collection or whatever? I can't remember the name of it. I have it downstairs. but I loved the Coming from the Cold video.
I did too.
I so badly wanted it to be a huge adult contemporary hit, but either way, if you really need that video version, you can get the promo single that has the LP version and the single edit on it. So that's where you can get that shorter version on CD if you feel the need. But Coming from the Cold is just such a beautiful song. Like, even when I listen to it now, some of the wordplay in there is just like, Joni talks about the passage of time in a lot of songs, like the Circle Game, and we can go through the list. But something about this one just struck a nerve the first time I heard it, and then struck a nerve yesterday when I listened to it. So who wants to go into Coming from the Cold? Who dares start this conversation?
I can start it.
All right. So Sue, then Bob.
Yeah. So I have to say that I love this song so much, and we went to British Columbia for our 20th anniversary Joni Fest, right near where Joni's house is up there, and what a fabulous time that was. And I wanted to do a sing-along, so I picked Coming from the Cold because there's so many background vocals on it, right? And it came out fabulous. I sent a version of me playing it on guitar, and everybody like practiced it before they came. And then what happened was this guy Steve started playing piano behind us, and it just clicked. It was so great. And I think that one of the things that's really awesome about this song is that it's another one of those long story songs, personal songs like Song for Sharon, that kind of goes into, it's long, but it doesn't seem long because it seems like you're going on this journey with her, in high school and the lines, oh my God, the lines are so beautiful. That whole thing, our legs are under the table, and electric up my spine. I can't remember the exact line, but it's just so beautiful. You can like feel it happening to you when she says it, so. And there's another, and then the song in the middle gets a little dark too. It's like it's talking about more of those Nietzsche lines, and so I can't think of the lines right off the top of my head because I'm a senior person, but it's just so beautiful. And there's one line in it that I really love, because now, like I was saying before we started, I'm learning how to meditate, and I'm listening to Trungpa, the guru that Joni met once, and that background vocal where she goes into no mind, I made some value judgments in a self-important voice, and then she's talking about how she let it all go, it goes full circle. And it's just such a beautiful, beautiful song. And the video is gorgeous. I love that video. It's so great. Our friend Charles Valentine, is dancing with her in the background. It's so cute. So, yeah.
I would dare to say, too, like, Joni's 80s output, it was what it was. But I feel like this song kind of picked up where Chinese Cafe left off with the depth.
Yeah.
Like, this is the first time she kind of, for me, dug down there, as she does best.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we have Bob, and then Mark, and then Chris. That's the lineup.
Yeah, so it is a long song, but like Sue says, you don't really notice the length of it. Me, it's kind of a different Joni Mitchell love song in that I think she throws her vulnerability right there on the table. She's not shy or self-deprecating about it. And it's one of those things where, again, my favorite lyric is the legs under the table. It's that sensation of being in the movie theater with your date, and she's got her hand on the little handrest. So you reach your hand over there, and he or she responds to that by flipping their hand over. Next thing you know, you're holding fingers until it gets too sweaty and awkward and you release it. But it's those little kind of moments that are, you're vulnerable, you're taking your chances, looking for even a small payoff, of some romance and affection in return to that. And I really, really like it. You know, it is long, but not in a bad way.
I think my favorite line is I'm not some stone commission like a statue in a park. I'm flesh and blood and vision. I'm howling in the dark. Like that just woo. I can't even talk. All right, Mark.
Well, this song always, I don't know, it's almost like an exhalation for me when it comes after on the CD anyway. It comes right after Slouching Toward Bethlehem and this really heavy, you know, ominous song. And then this kind of and it's just real kind of easy. But the lyrics are incredible in this one. I mean, like Sue said, they start from adolescence, you know, and the beginning of sexual energy. With just a touch of our fingers, we can make our circuitry explode. And I love the line about howling in the dark too. And I have a question. For years, I heard this line as, and this may sound stupid, but when she said, I am howling in the dark, I thought she meant howling as almost like a noun. I'm howling in the dark, not physically howling in the dark, but I am the actual howling in the dark. So am I crazy here? Or it only occurred to me in the last, I don't know, few years that this could be the physical act of howling in the dark. But anyway, Sue mentioned the final verse too, which I love. She talks earlier in the song about we really thought we had a purpose we were so anxious to achieve. We had hope, the world held promise for a slave to liberty. And then in the last verse, she says, when I thought life had some meaning, when I thought I had some choice, and I made some value judgments in a self-important voice. And I like the background vocal there where she goes, I was out of line, out of line. And then finishes the song. But it's a great song. I'll shut up now.
Could the howling have been like the crazy cries of love? Is that, did you have that thought as well?
Well, I hadn't, but yeah,
I mean,
I think you're right. It probably could be.
Yeah, I mean, just with all the sexual, you know, references and the, you know, for me, it's very young, like what the feelings that you had, like what Bob was describing, and certainly what we all just, you know, felt in our teenage years, regardless of what the situation might have been on the dance floor or in the back seat of a Cadillac, so to speak.
Yeah, I suppose it could be that.
We have Chris, then Paz, and then Reuben.
Wow, this is a really complex and complicated song. I love it, and when I think of it as an entire piece, I kind of come to the conclusion that it's a collage kind of, you know, in a sense. And I don't know if it's kind of like the collage painting she was doing just previous to this, or whether it's sort of the, you know, like the photograph she's included, if it's the double exposures and the triple exposures and just layers of things on top of each other. But you know how she likes to talk about her art, her visual art, and her music sort of working in tandem with each other. But the song kind of starts autobiographical, and it gets into other themes along the way about, you know, about the motivations of an entire generation of her peers. Goes back into, you know, her own mind and her own individual relationships with people. And there's very specific ones that I will just give you my very, very rough. Again, there's a very fine line, you know, that you can cross when you're just speculating on somebody's writing. But what always, when I read along as I listen to it, I see that she's placed quite a bit of the background vocals, like answers in parentheses. So it's almost like there's a theatricality that she's introduced into it, and I don't know exactly completely what to make from it. So I really step back and I just wind up enjoying the song, sort of in its gestalt, just kind of as a whole, and letting it kind of wash over me and bringing whatever it will.
Outside. No, it's not time yet.
But specifically, the lines that make me lean a little bit into this song a little bit more are, she talked about years about, her post-polio syndrome. So the lines about the bonfires in my spine and stuff like that, I think have a little bit of an actual physical motivation that, or a prompting from it. And then I don't know if she was, searching her body for clues as to how to respond to something. She goes on, and again, everybody's cited this verse about, I'm not some stone commission. I think that she's wrestling with her fame at that point, that, people are looking to her and sort of elevating her to a level of grandiosity that she never asked for. And she wants to be, treated like a human, and with humanity. Long time I have suspected that she has really, especially since For the Roses, whatever, she's really been very wary of people who are sycophants, will suck up to her, will want something from her. And so the lines that she talks about, do your smiles covert complicity? Does your smiles covert complicity debase as it admires? That's a terribly lonely place to be, because when you're not able to trust somebody who is, standing in front of you and maybe giving you compliments, I could see a lot of loneliness in this song. So these are all these little pieces that sort of come at me in little darts, and I'd never know where I'm going to bleed from first when I'm listening to this song. I really don't. But I think it's a terrific song, and I don't know whoever suggested that they cut it for a single. I don't know if that was Klein's idea or what, but did it ever make the chart as a single? Because I think it did some damage to the song, I think, personally, but that's why I'm glad it's still around. She uses the short version, though, on one of the compilations, I believe, which I thought was a strange choice. But anyway, that's everything I've got to say about this overall. So take it away, guys.
Chris, that's an interesting take on the Stone Commission line, because I always felt like, I know in the gay world, it's just all about objectification. So I felt like the line meant, I'm not just something to look at. I'm also flesh and I also have something inside. So that's what the line always tore me up a little bit. Like, I'm more than just what you see in front of you. But there's no right or wrong when it comes to interpreting lyrics, that's for sure. Okay, we have Paz, then Reuben, then David.
Yeah, I really love this song. It sucked me in right from the beginning. For me, the groove of the song reminds me of dancing days in my youth. I mean, in Honduras, it wasn't like it was in Detroit, where they were hawk-eyeing on you and from the sidelines. And in Honduras, we were at the discotheques as teenagers, and we were in nightclubs, and there was no age limit to drinking or any of that kind of stuff. So, but the groove of this song for me really sucked me in, and it just reminds me of the dancing. And slow dancing was definitely something that we did a lot of in my youth. I mean, we definitely danced, to rock and roll songs and to soul music and so on. But the other thing is, like I've said many times before about her music, is the way that she uses her own voice for background vocals. To me, is very powerful in this song. There's one part of it that's that's very striking to me. Okay, Ashley is texting me. So she says, I know we never will be perfect, never entirely clear. When the moon shines, we get hurt and we just panic and we strike out of fear. You are only being kind. I fear the sentence of this solitude, 200 years on hold. Oh, all we ever wanted was to come in from the cold. So I've always, wondered what the reference of the 200 years on hold and how she's identifying with that. Other than that, a lot of the stuff I can really identify and understand where she's coming from and maybe parallel it to something within my own life. But that one sort of just left me out wondering what the heck she was talking about.
All right, we have Reuben and David.
This, I think, is my favorite song on the whole album, maybe. But when I first heard all of these songs, I was in my mid-teens, like 16, 17. And now I'm the same age that Joni was when she wrote all of these, and they hit me in a whole different way. I'm 40, I just turned 47 last week. And one of the lines from this I really like, it's another example of how she can just pile all these syllables in and you don't even blink. Is this just vulgar electricity? Is this the edifying fire? Does your smile's covert complicity debase as it admires? Are you just checking out your mojo, or am I just fighting off growing old? All I ever wanted was to come in from the cold. That last bit really has hit me a lot lately as I had a birthday closer to 50. But and another funny thing, when I first heard this, I was a junior in high school. And the first line is, back in 1957, we had to dance a foot apart. And I was going to a rather uptight Swedenborgian high school in Pennsylvania where we had to dance 6 feet apart. I remember thinking it was kind of ironic. And the decades in between her and me, we'd only lost 6 inches to the school dance rule. Anyway, I don't know if they still do it, but that's all I got.
So, Reuben, were you class of 93?
Yes.
Me too. I'm 47.
Yeah, I thought so.
All right, David.
Yeah, thanks. Can you hear me? I'm using another audio setup. Okay. First I want to echo Paz, because I don't understand the 200 years on hold lyric, and never have. Tried to bring that up on the JMDL a while ago, and the topic didn't take off. But if anybody has any clue what that's about, other than just, it's like being on hold for 200 years, which doesn't.
It sounded biblical to me.
I thought it was like
biblical, and I just had no point of reference.
Yeah, I wondered if it was because it was well after the bicentennial, but somehow I thought it was 200 years of the United States. I don't know, what is 200 years? What is this 200 years thing? I don't get it. So anyway, I also want to say that this and the next song, this being sexual and growing older, it's just really a profound meditation on that. So I think I just want to echo what everyone else has said about it. I gotta repeat this stanza. Is this just vulgar electricity? Is it the edifying fire? Does your smile's covert complicity debase and it admires? Now, come on. That's a great line. Covert complicity debases and admires. And it's just a seduction. It's, a standard seduction. And so much depth in that. Anyway, thanks.
So for the hell of it, I just Googled 1791, because that would have been 200 years ago. And it said, hold on a second. I lost the page. The British Parliament passes the Constitutional Act 1791, splitting the old province of Quebec into Upper and Lower Canada. So Related or not, who knows?
Clearly, it's a reference to Upper and Lower Canada and the id and, the super ego. You've made it all make sense to me, Jeremy.
Mark, you're next. Oh, Sue, go ahead.
No, I just thought it had something to do with Nietzsche, but that was only 100 years ago. So,
yeah. All right, Mark.
Well, somebody on the JMDL once suggested that it was a reference to the book 100 Years of Solitude. I don't know if that's applicable or not, but I hear the sentence of the solitude 200 years on hold. So it could
you have to read it twice.
I guess. I don't know. And the line that Chris mentioned, does your smile's covert complicity debases it admires? Well, that goes back to is this just vulgar electricity? Is this the edifying fire? She's questioning this whole sexual attraction, is this, are you just, got the hots for me and you're making me into this object? Or is this something more than that? I don't know. And it has to do, I think, with aging. And I think that's a good remark about the bonfires in the spine maybe being about the post-polio syndrome. Anyway.
All right, Sue, your hand is up. Then Jack.
Well, I'm just following up on what Mark just said. I think this whole album is about love and middle age. There's so many references to, her growing older, and what does that mean for, her relationships with, her lovers, or with Klein or whatever. I mean, it just seems to me, and she does it so brilliantly. I mean, nothing can be done. The whole thing with Only Joy in Town, where she's, catcalling some guy on,
She's a cougar.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, she just is having a different relationship with her, with how she looks at, love and sex now that she's, heading to 50.
I know somewhere in the press junket of this album, didn't she refer to these as her middle-aged love songs?
Yeah, something like that.
Which in a way maybe sells it short, but on the other hand, I can really relate to these in my middle age. So, Joni.
Yeah, me too.
All right, so Jack and then Laura.
Yeah, I just want to add to the Stone Commission thing. To me, I always thought it kind of referenced, the crap she took for not just creating Blue over and over and over again. That, she's not a fixed piece of art. That, you have a Stone Commission, it's going to be the same over every time you look at it. It's going to look the same. Where she's saying, I'm a flesh and blood and vision. I'm going to change. I'm living. And so I think it was kind of her calling out the people who gave her shit for changing.
What a great line, right?
Yeah.
All right, Laura.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jack. And I was thinking along the same lines. The Joni's wonderful for taking one word and getting all different kinds of meanings out of it, so it's like coming from the cold, that phrase, it applies to so many different things. And I was thinking of her creativity. And another thing I was thinking about was 1957, she would have been about 14 or 15 years old, so this song really does reach way back and then go into her present when she wrote it. And anyway, the line or lines, but then absurdity came over me and I longed to lose control. It's for me that really cinched the creativity part of it, because I don't know about y'all, but when I was studying English in high school, English lit, they said that most of the poets by their 20s had written their most beautiful poems, and then they would come to a dryness after that. And this I long to lose control And then everything that came before those lines, you know, all the electricity, the bonfires. And so anyway, I was really just thinking of coming in from the cold, maybe coming in from having a cold spell as far as the creativity goes. And then, of course, it's all related, you know, to human expression and the way that the older people try to squash or whatever to control the younger people. And I think she might have been fighting with herself here a little bit. You know, her younger self didn't want to be squelched, and yet she was realizing she was growing older and sort of getting colder, losing some of that.
All right, Jim, was your hand up?
Yes, my hand was up. I couldn't find the unmute button. Sorry. Let's see. So, yeah, a lot of these songs are inward looking as opposed to some of the outward looking ones that we saw on the previous album. And Happy Marriage, I think that things were going well with Larry. And I think this is about the time when she was really vigorously trying to find Kelly Green, Killoran. That's all from me.
Chris, was your hand up again?
Just, you know, as we're talking about all the lyrics, and I just, you know, again, I'm looking at how the song is constructed. They all end, every stanza, every couplet ends with "all we ever wanted was to come in from the cold." And again, this is her, you know, perhaps a little bit more overt mastery of picking those things that will be universal to everybody. But in all of these situations she paints, it always ends with a plea for acceptance and comfort. And that is, again, such a strong ability that she has to be able to connect with people from so many different places, and through so many different reasons with the same core thought.
All right, Mark.
Well, I always thought of the line "coming from the cold" as coming in from isolation, like Chris says, acceptance, finding warmth, finding love, finding something communal with another human being. There's a song that Judy Collins wrote called Albatross, but there's a line in it that goes, imprisoned in your bones behind the isinglass windows of your eyes. And I have felt that way many, many times. Like I'm looking out at the world, but I'm like stuck in here. And I want to come in from the cold. I want to come in from this isolation. Anyway, that's enough.
It's interesting because my take on it always was that it's just cold outside. They're just going inside. They just want to get in, and then shit, all this heavy stuff happens, and all they want to do was just get out of the snow.
That fits the narrative too. Absolutely.
I mean, that's happened to me before when I was a teenager. We just wanted to get inside. It was damn cold out, and then boom, like all this crazy shit went down. All right. Do we have any other comments on coming from the cold? Come in. All right, well, let's keep our tradition going. Thumbs up means we like it. Sideways mean eh, and thumbs down means dog eat dog. No, I'm just kidding. You know I like dog eat dog. Okay, coming from the cold. Universal thumbs up. Fucking amazing. Okay, fucking amazing song. It's so good. I could talk for hours about how much I love this song. So we did it in 45 minutes. All right, next is a song. And Sue, you're doing Only Joy in Town, right?
Yes, is that next?
No, we have one more.
Okay.
We had to.
Hey, Jeremy, do we want to do a quick recap of covers?
Oh, we sure
A long
can.
time ago when We mentioned that.
Yes.
It's pretty brief, especially on this side.
Oh,
of the
sorry,
record.
Bob. Jeremy had surgery just recently, so he's not well.
I'm not well. Every time I sneeze, I put my camera off so it doesn't spray the damn screen. Bob, how many covers were there of coming from
the cold? It's pretty intimidating because of the length. There were two. First up by Cheryl Barnes, a black R&B singer in 2014. She did the full length version and also an edited version, and then another artist recorded. So total of two.
Well, I have some advice for everyone out there wanting to cover the song. Just because it's long, don't be afraid of it. All right, let's move on. No more penis jokes in this podcast. Okay.
I didn't even get it as a penis joke, Jeremy.
I didn't either, and I have one.
Oh, God. I'm falling behind.
There goes all my Patreon subscribers. Okay, so up next we have a song that Larry Klein wrote the music for, correct?
Yep.
So they've come a long way since collaborating on Lakota. With this next song, Nothing Can Be Done, which features, who's the guy that sings the duet? He's not...
David Bearwald.
And what's his story?
He first recorded, he was part of the Tuesday Night Music Club with Sheryl Crow and that gang that was a part of that record. He put out his first record, as far as I know, and Les is a fan, so he'll jump on me if I'm mistaken, but a group called David and David.
Put
out a record called Boomtown.
Yeah.
Which was really, really wonderful. That's all they did. He branched off and did 3 excellent solo albums. Really, really good over the next 12 years or so.
I have to check that out. And I must admit, on the record, I love Tuesday Night Music Club. I think that's a great album.
Yep.
I mean, Cheryl's no Joni, but I think she knows that. Okay. Nothing Can Be Done. Another song. There was a music video for this one, correct? If I remember correctly. All right.
Yeah, I think there were for all of them. Almost.
Yeah, David Barrowald was in that one.
Yep.
Wasn't he?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Chris, is your hand up?
Yeah, it is. And I've always had a thought about this song, and I always, for some reason, thought it was connected with her miscarriage. That this is what you hear from doctors who say to you that nothing can be done. It's probably one of the worst things you ever want to hear. And because she repeats that phrase, I kind of thought about it, and I thought, well, what might have motivated that phrase to come to her? And the only loss that I came up with along, in her chronology was that, that terrible thing that they suffered. So I know that's a really kind of somber way to start the discussion on this song, but it's always sort of, nagged at me. So I'm going to, speculate it out there and throw it out and let people talk me in off a ledge if there's any thought to it.
All right, I had 2 quick thoughts. Then we have Bob and David. My first thought was maybe things weren't so well with her and Klein at this point as we'd like to think. And second of all, I already forgot. Okay, Bob.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. It's sort of funny that this song comes right on the heels of Come In From the Cold, which is a song about young, naive, vulnerable, learning about love. And then we have this song, which is very much into the mature mindset of, look, I'm tired of having to forgive you and nothing's right anymore. And you're going to get pissed off and get in your sports car and drive down the mountains and away. So it's certainly not as long. Doesn't have the depth of lyricism that Coming From the Cold is, but I think it's a pretty harsh statement that, yeah, this is, if this isn't over now, it's going to be over soon.
Which it was. I remember the other thing I was going to say. I love the chorus. I am not old, I'm told, but I am not young. Because, anytime I'm like, oh, I'm getting old, everyone's like, no, you're not. Yes, we are. Come on now. Okay, we have David, then Sue, then Mark.
Hey, I just one thing I want to say is that this too is a song I just love. I think it's a great, great song, and also I think we have to harken ahead to Last Chance Lost. I sort of see this and Last Chance Lost as sort of bookends, kind of. And Man, so I guess I was in my mid to late 30s when this came out, and that was when I first started the very first inklings of that which has gone on perpetually since then. Of wow, I'm older today than I was yesterday, um, and and that things were different, and that I was being perceived as older. And I just think this my body is screwing up. Um, um, and What to do with this aging body and these desires that are still, the heart that is still a smoking gun. And okay, this is my favorite fucking lyric. Must I surrender with grace the things I loved when I was younger? I mean, come on. That is a heavy, heavy thing to ask of any of us, to surrender with grace. I still don't like it. I don't like it at all. Okay, bye. My thing is screaming in my ear. I'm going to change it.
And I remember Dave on the last discussion saying that some of the production choices were more similar to Chalkmark than some of the other albums. And I guess in the song I can hear it a little bit, but I just feel they were a lot more responsible with their production choices. Even with the busier arrangement of the song, I just think it's perfect. I wouldn't change one thing about it. All right, we have Sue, then Mark, then Posh.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what David just said. I mean, there was this woman in New Orleans. What was her name, Paz? Who does Nothing Can Be Done. She was Smith.
Leslie.
Leslie Smith. Oh my God.
Yeah. She does a really sexy version of it.
She burned on stage singing this song. Yeah. I mean, it was just.
There was nothing left but ashes on stage when she walked up.
Oh my God. She was so great. And, and she was a big Joni fan, and we talked afterwards. I go, oh my God, that just killed me, And she goes, oh, I love that song so much. And, it's like this whole idea of desire and like the pain that comes with it is just so intense, And to be older. So I have to just mention that when I went on my first date with my boyfriend, the guy I'm still hanging out with, he says, how old are you? Like right off the bat. I go, I'm 48. And he goes, oh, I'm 38. I don't know if this is going to work because I only like date women who are like 4 years younger or 4 years old. Like he had all this criteria, And I'm like, what? This was the first date I had after my divorce. So I was like, this guy is cute. What the hell? I'll just, I'll ride it, see what happens, And it turned out that we really connected great, We were just like, and we broke up like 4 times. And, I mean, because it was like all this trying to get adjusted to the fact that we were crazy about each other, but there were all these like, well, you're older than me. Well, you smoke like a maniac. Like he smokes worse than Joni did, So
that's possible.
Yeah, it is possible, believe me. But yeah, but it's still. And when I heard this song, I was like, oh my God, I can feel. I'm experiencing this now. And with the stuff that went on with my ex too, this whole idea of him racing off, and he's gone for a couple of days, I was like, what the hell, what's going on here? And I mean, those memories are really painful. And they inform a lot of the reason why I get hesitant about, even getting involved in this stuff. But, when it works, it's so amazing. So, and what happens when you get older, it's just, it's just more difficult, and she nailed it. I mean, it's Like, I'm kind of in the camp of, I don't really know what went on with her and Klein, but I know what goes on with me. And when I listen to these songs, like she hits the nail on the head for me, and I'm experiencing this. And I think that that's one of the reasons why I love her so much, even from the first couple of albums I listened to, was like, oh my God, she's talking about me, and it just, with this song, it's like really, really visceral. So.
I feel like my heart's the smoking gun and my body's the empty shell of the bullet.
Yeah, right.
All right, we have Mark, then pause.
Well, I just wanted to mention the performance and the Joni 75 concert of this song. Los Lobos was the backup, and the singer was La Marisol, who has her own band, La Santa Cecilia, I think is the name of it. But I thought that was great. That just, I don't know, put a new light on the song for me. I really think that's one of the great covers.
I have to totally agree with you, Mark. I think that was the highlight of that whole event. I love David Hidalgo, and I mean, with the combination of all those people playing this song was just, whew.
And the people or the woman dancing on the, I forget what the name of it is, but it's a drum type of, it's a percussion instrument, and you play it by dancing on it. Yeah. Maybe that was on Dreamland, but it was great.
Well, especially when they trot out the same old people doing the same old songs over and over again. This was such an amazing breath of fresh air to do a song it's the only cover of this song ever been done, but to bring their original feel to it, yeah, it was really, really wonderful.
And not to be a bitch, but I'm on cold medicine, so I'm kind of saying more than I normally do. Once Brandy Carlisle starts digging into these songs, then she can look me up. All right, pause.
Don't hold back, Jeremy. So I really love this song. I love the instrumentation in the background and the guitar work. My friend Bill Dillon was on this track, and he played on a couple of tracks on this album. He was over there in town working with Robbie Robertson. And this is probably just before I met Bill, who came to town here and was working with Daniel Lanois. And I've learned so much from him about so many different things in music. If you don't know who he is, I strongly recommend that you look him up on allmusic.com, or just Google him and see. I mean, he's on hundreds of recordings, and he's probably on so many albums that you have in your collection. He was definitely on Turbulent Indigo, and so one album that changed my life that he did was Sarah McLaughlin's "Fumbling Towards Ecstasy," which his father was killed during the making of that album, and they still didn't have the single. The record company kicked the song back and told Sarah and Pierre Marchand that they didn't really hear a single, which I think she ended up having like 4 or 5 singles from that album. But the first single that they released was a song called Possession. And the next time you listen to that song, listen to the guitar work in the background, because to me, it's very angry. He was very upset with Sarah and Pierre because they were really bugging him to record the song after he lost his father to a very violent, tragic death. And it was riding around in the French Quarter with him in the car and listening to those songs, and then having him tell me the stories, and then subsequently him getting to the stories of meeting Joni, meeting Klein, and then meeting Joni. I think there's an article on the website that you can read, but I'd love to talk to him and see if I could get him to come and talk about those sessions, because he's really kind of a character, and it would be a lot of fun to talk to him. But to get back to the song, I always had it in my heart that this was the beginning of the end for her and Klein. And the fact that they collaborated on this song is even more poignant to me, that artistic thing that drew them together in the first place, and then the whole relationship thing. It just shows how powerful it all is, and for her, once again, her genius of the way that she can. I love the song. You had some trash can rock band pounding. What a great line. So yeah, great tune. Another great one, Joan.
I thought it was very Fleetwood Mac that she wrote those lyrics to Klein's music. And there is a promo single for this one right here that does have a single edit, if anyone's interested in hearing the shorter version of the song. All right. Does anyone else have any comments on Nothing Can Be Done? Doesn't she have a little trash can rock band, like a little guitar riff after that, which is like a throwback to This Flight Tonight, the little band playing on the radio, which is kind of cool. All right. Bob, you said there was only one cover of this, correct?
Yep, just the one. We've discussed it, Los Lobos. It's a rocker.
All right, so now we're moving over to Europe, correct? And I'm going to tell a story about this song. In high school in 1991, I guess we were juniors, right, Reuben?
Yeah.
And at that time, Joni Mitchell hadn't come back as like the legacy. So I was trying to convince all my high school friends, like, Joni Mitchell's the best. And we're on the band trip. And I was sitting next to this girl, Deanna, that played oboe. I'm like, see, Joni Mitchell even plays the oboe on her record. And I found out years later it was a synthesizer. Like, she didn't actually play the oboe. So the song we're talking about is The Only Joy in Town. Joni Mitchell's credited as playing oboe on the album, but we found out that it was just a synthesizer. So, Sue, you're going to treat us to a version of this song, correct? And do you want me to pause and do a little sound check, maybe?
Kill it.
All right, viewers, we have a special treat tonight from the Night Ride Home album. We have Sue Tierney of the Joni Mitchell Piano and Guitar Database performing a version of The Only Joy in Town.
All right, here we go. I wanna paint a picture, Botticelli style. Instead of Venus on a clam, I paint this flower child. You are the air that flowers breathe. He calls and the ladies turn around. On the first day of spring, I'm looking at the only joy around. He's the only joy around, the only joy I found. He is the only joy in town. Spanish Steps are crowded, bunch of bodies brooding there. Deadpan sidewalk vendors hawking vacant stares, making more than more exceptional. This fool in a flower crown. On the first day of spring, I'm looking at the joy around. He's the only joy around, the only joy I found. He's the only joy in town. Ooh. But a jolly bug boy, chilly black boy, the Botticelli black boy, with the fuchsias in his hair, is breathing in women like oxygen on the
Spanish Stairs. In my youth, I would have followed him all through this terracotta town. On the first day of spring, we'd dance and sing and be the only joy around. We'd be the only joy around. The only joy I found. He's the only joy in town all day. But a jelly black boy, but a jelly black boy. At night these streets are empty. Where does everybody go? Where are the brash and tender rooms in Roman candle glow? Where are Fellini circuses, like those Shavita clowns? On the first day of spring, I'm looking at the only joy around. He's the only joy around. The only joy I found. He's the only joy in town. Oh. But a jolly black boy, he is the only joy around. The only joy I have found. The only joy in town.
Woo!
You are in fine voice tonight.
Oh,
Steve. That was great.
I lost my earphones.
Oh, you sounded terrific.
Oh, great. Thanks. Yeah, that was a fun one.
I
My
want to be a
goodness.
Greek chorus with you on that sometime live.
Woo.
Yeah, really.
So my first couple thoughts are, number one, she's talking about her sexual history in the first song in this part. The second song, she's talking about her marriage dissolving. The third one, she's already scoping out a younger man. Joni is wasting no time. And my second thought is, when you're singing that, it just really made me remember how much I love her voice on this album. I love the huskier warning. And there's one line I really love in the song where she's like, the only joy around. Like, she really digs into the around, and I just love it. So what a great performance. As with every other song on this album, I adore this song. It's wonderful. And we already have some hands up. We have Paz, then Jack, and then Mark.
Wow, yeah, great job, Sue. I love this song so much. I've heard so many people criticize this song for, I don't know, lyrically and whatever, but I just love it. For me, it's her painting with words and music. I mean, it's broad brushstrokes, and I just love the imagery. Yeah, I can't remember what the comments were about the Botticelli Black Boy, but I don't give a shit anyway. And but yeah, it's a beautiful song, and thank you, Joe.
Right, Paz? We don't give a fuck. This song
Exactly.
is amazing.
I'm one of those people. I don't give a shit, but you can rant all you want, wave your banner. Go ahead, see if I care.
And in the middle age, what is there better to do than to see a hottie on the steps somewhere? Like, bring it. Like, let me look at that beautiful flower crown. I need something to brighten my day. Okay, Jack, and then Mark.
One of the things about this song that always stuck out to me is, there's like a correlation with this and For Free. I find it interesting that she has now written 2 songs about people she meets on the street that she's obviously impressed with. And yet in both cases, she walks away from them. The guy in For Free, I meant to go over and, put on some harmonies and whatever, but she doesn't. And then here, in my youth, I would have followed him but she doesn't. So I always just thought it was kind of cool that, she meets these two strangers on the street. They had a powerful enough impact on her to write songs about them, and yet she walked away from them anyway.
All right, Mark.
Well, just to add a little bit of context to the song, the notes in the Geffen box set explain the situation. It was based on a real incident. She was in Rome with her manager's secretary, and they were on the Spanish Steps. She said it was a really, really hot day, and everybody was looking glum. So everybody on the Spanish Steps, all the vendors and everybody were looking glum, and all of a sudden they hear
That's what they look like. It's true. Everybody does there.
There was this guy she heard behind her saying, when they walked by, saying, "Oh, you are the air my flowers breathe," And I had never caught that this was supposed to be the Botticelli Black Boy who was saying, "You are the air my flowers breathe," which makes sense, of course. He calls and the ladies turn around, and she said he had all these fuchsias in his hair, which that's where the Botticelli reference came in. She said it was like the garlands or whatever that Botticelli painted in people's hair, and that's what made her think of it. But I like this song a lot too, and it does have some great imagery. In my youth, I would have followed him all through this terracotta town, where anyway, my mind is going blank now. At night these streets are empty, where does everybody go? Where are the brash and tender rooms and Roman candle glow? It's great. Okay.
And Joni, I have bad news for you, but it's not just the ladies that are turning around. All right, Chris, your hand is up.
That's not bad news for me. The boys don't do it anymore when they're 67.
This song is such a potent evoking of what it is to feel, to see Rome, to feel Rome, to experience Rome. It really captures it beautifully. Why she didn't run with that and make it for travelogue, I don't know. I think this would have been a really perfect thematic inclusion for that set, but
with a real oboe, right?
Completely. But now, visually though, I don't know, this came a couple of years later, but I couldn't get the Botticelli Black Boy. I could not get this image out of my mind every time I heard her sing Botticelli Black Boy, because this was, he's mimicking Venus, which is the painting by Botticelli. So I always made the connection somehow between this and this song. And I'm sure they have nothing to do with one another.
Venus on a clam. Instead of Venus on a clam, I'd paint this flower child. I couldn't understand that verse for years, and I didn't own the CD for a while. I just had a tape of it, and what is she saying?
In a further connection, Chris, we just discussed that very album on Phonogenics last month with the Prince group, and Jahida did sit in on that discussion. So,
and I'm actually incorrect. This album, this photograph, this album cover preceded the song.
Yep, 1988.
Song. That's right.
All right. Any other contributions to the only joy in town? Bob.
I think, if I may be mistaken, and Jamie's not here to back me up, he's the expert on paintings, but I think she actually did a painting of the Botticelli Black Boy with the flowers in his hair. I feel like I've seen that before. For me, this is not her best work, but it is a masterful act of visually making me see the Spanish Steps, the crowd, almost feel the heat, see the people, and feel what she's feeling about, oh, look at this guy, he's breathing in women like oxygen, and I would go chase after him, but now those days are gone. But I think she made a painting of the black boy with the fuchsia in his hair.
Isn't that in the book that was the catalog for, I don't remember the name of the exhibition, but it was a really nice hardcover book.
Diary of a Decade.
Diary of a Decade.
Diary of a Decade?
I have that. I'll go look for it right now.
Well, I do too. Ashara actually bought several people copies of it when she went to the exhibition. But I seem to remember that painting being in there.
I'm gonna go look for it, and I will
I'll look for
report
mine
next.
too.
I always felt that was masterful album sequencing, because after a couple heavy songs, I felt like this was a nice kind of palate cleanser, so things didn't get too in the murk. Okay, we have Sue and then David. Oh, Sue, you're muted, friend.
I took my hand down instead of muting. Anyway, so this is, somebody before said that, this was a thing about, she saw this guy, but she didn't hook up with him, right? But she wrote a song about him. Well, while I was practicing this song, the last verse, she says, where are the brash and tender rooms and Roman candle glow? And then she says, I'm looking at the only joy in town. And I thought, oh, she went to bed with him, and he's there, so because she's looking at him, right? But you never know, that's, the whole thing kind of cracked me up because I couldn't get out of my head every time. I've never been to Italy, but every time I talk to somebody who's been to Italy, they say how the men just are always catcalling the women and whistling at them and say, hey, baby, and here's her getting back at them, it's like, hey,
I love that.
Botticelli black boy. I don't know. I love this song. It's fun.
It's up because I'm coming from the cold, the Stone Commission line. I'm like, it's about her being a woman, not being objectified. But then 2 songs later, like, she's objectifying the hell out of this guy.
Oh, yeah.
And we love it.
Yeah.
All right, David.
Hey, I always thought there was an actual Botticelli painting of a black boy with flowers in his hair, and I'm always, like, until 5 minutes ago when I tried to Google it and I couldn't find it. But there is a painting called Primavera, called Spring, and there is the goddess Flora. It's apparently also a famous painting. Google tells me, Wikipedia tells me, and she's just bedecked in flowers, and it's a very androgynous face. And I realized that's the image that I always thought was Botticelli's black boy. But she's neither a boy nor is she black, but she's got a lot of flowers in her hair. And it's the first day of spring.
All right, Mark.
Well, this isn't the boy with the flowers in his hair, but this is opposite the lyrics for The Only Joy in Town.
That's Val. That's Charles Valentino, isn't it?
Yeah.
Huh.
And that's from Voices, the Mendel exhibit.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't see anything with flowers in the Diary of a Decade. Diary of a Decade. So I think we've come up short with that painting, if it exists.
The elusive.
Yeah, that was the one I was thinking of, and it's not.
Well, there was also our piece of artwork she did for a Canadian. It was either a Christmas card or some type of card that featured a young
UNICEF
black
card.
woman.
Well, a UNICEF card, right? But that was a long time ago. She was
a long
very
time
young
later.
She was a young child when she did that. That was before I think she even left Alberta. I think she might have been a student at the art college when she did that. And I have tried to Google search that out like crazy, and I've come up with nothing on it.
All right. Any other parting thoughts on the only joy in town before we leave Italy? Bob, how many covers were there?
No covers of this one.
What?
Hmm.
That's a damn shame.
It's a very individualized song. It's not something that I think other people are going to want to relate to and and sing about. It's a pretty song, but lyrically, unless you've been there and can get into it, it's it's maybe a nice jazz piece. Skip the words and just dig on the music.
All right, David, did you have a final thought?
Yeah. It also takes a little something to be singing about black boys.
Yeah.
Sorry. It just does.
All right. So Joni, in our discussion so far, has summed up her sexual evolution. She talked about some relationship problems. She went to Italy and she couldn't cheat on Klein. So now she's thinking back to her youth, to the times when she did have a little fun in the back seat. Ray's dad's Cadillac out on Airport Road. Mark, your hand is up. Let's get this one going.
Well, I just want to say that I don't think anybody else in this group grew up in a small, well, it was a city when I was growing up. It was 16,000 people in Iowa. And in a place like that, there isn't much to do for people who are 16 and older that have driver's licenses on weekends or whatever, but drive around the town, take the folks' car and go out and up and down Main Street. They called it scooping the loop. And so to me, that's what this song makes me think of. And also when I got to college and I started smoking weed, people would, then I was living in a dorm, people would in the dorms would go out if they had cars and drive around and toke on a joint or a pipe. And between Waterloo and Cedar Falls, Iowa, which is where the University of Northern Iowa is an airport, and there are blue lights all up and down. And every once in a while we'd go out that way when we were on our flights, as we called them. But that's all I really want to say about this before anybody starts in on Ray's dad's Cadillac, because I like this song quite a bit. And it reminds me of those days. And I think it's just a fun song, a fun look back at her youth. And in spite of the Ray's dad's Cadillac repeating beep, beep all through it. Enough.
I also come from a small town, Dunkirk/Fredonia, New York, and there's nothing to do but drive around. But we also had an airport road. So when this song came out, I was still living there, and it definitely conjured a reality for me. All right, Chris, your hand is up.
Yeah, it is. I kind of, I've always felt that this particular song doesn't live up to the level of the others on the record. Not that it's, it's the one that I tend to want to skip on it, and I don't know if it's because it's repetitive. It's nice that we get to meet another maybe if it came before Coming from the Cold, so as to set up the first verse of that, I'd be in that sort of place where at least chronologically I'd know where she was, where her head was coming from. Thematically it might work for me, but I have to say I think she's still close with Ray. I think she still hangs out with Ray, who visits her in Los Angeles. It's nice to meet, yet another member of her, her team, Melvin and Gail, Louise. I wonder if people think Shirley is part of that group. Shirley, it's the second coming, and the wrath is finally. I don't know. That's all I wanted to say. It's not my favorite on the record, but I'm always glad that those songs are there.
Well, I think it has some really clever lyrics. I mean, when it comes to mathematics, I got static in the attic. No, sir, nothing's clear. I'll be blackboard blind on Monday, dreaming of blue runways on the edge of here. a little atmosphere, blue lights out on Airport Road. Shut up, Mark.
I think it's just another painting in the form of a song, which I love. And I love that the album kind of starts out with a car ride in her mid-40s with her man. Then the album inches towards the close in another car ride from a very different time and place. So, the whole driving thing in the album. We have Mark, then Bob, and then Laura, then Paz.
Sorry, my hand's still up. And
Okay.
I said what I was going to say.
Bob.
Well, I think, maybe everywhere, but especially in America, the automobile represents freedom. We all, at least I do, remember the first time I drove my parents' Chevy Nova for the first time by myself, and I heard a couple of songs on the radio, and both of which were very cheesy, but they'll always hold a special place in my heart because this is freedom. Now you can go anywhere you want to go, whenever you want to go. You don't need a ride. Which has been funny the past couple of weeks, and until the 17th, I need a ride because I can't drive. With my chest work being done, I can't risk driving and having an airbag deploy. So I've been dependent on, so I've lost that freedom until March 17th. So I definitely feel that when my PT guy was over today, he said, what's bothered you the most about this surgery? I said, well, Rich, believe it or not, it's been the fact that I can't drive. I've been dependent on people for rides. So yeah, the car represents a lot of freedom, and it does dovetail from we'd all go looking for a party, looking to raise Jesus from the dead in our car. Nobody to tell us we can't go to the party. Here we go. Let's go. And especially in the back of a great big old Cadillac, there's no telling how many people were conceived in the back of these Cadillacs. They were humongous cars. The only thing I've seen bigger than the Cadillac in the back seat is a Marathon. They make the cabs. And a Marathon, back of a Marathon, you could set up a dinner table for 10 people back there. It's so huge. But yeah, the Cadillac is just it's a symbol of wealth and the fins. She references those fins, in that whole style of car. So it's not my favorite song, but it's a fun little song, some great imagery there. I hate that she does have to throw in about, oh, math is so hard, I'm no good at it. It reminds me of the controversy with the Barbie doll they had several years back where you pull Barbie string and she'd say, oh, math is so hard, and meanwhile, they're trying to get girls signed up for STEM, science and math. And let's beat the stereotype of, well, girls don't do math and we don't need to do math because all I've got to do is be a good cook and take care of my babies, So I'm not crazy about the whole anti-math thing. Of course, my wife is a math instructor and heads the secondary math for Greenville County. So math is a part and parcel of our everyday life. That's all I got to say about Ray's Dad's Cadillac. While I have the floor, I'll say there's two covers, same artist. Steve Klink, who's a jazz pianist from Germany, put it on his Joni tribute CD called Places to Come From, Places to Go in 2002. And then the very next year, he put out a live record that had a live version of the song. So no lyrics, but just, enjoying the melodic values of the song with the piano and a band. I'm out.
Did this song have a Chucky's in Love, Ricky Lee Jones vibe to anyone else but me? All right, so I'm not crazy. All right, Laura, then Paz.
I hear it.
Yeah, I hear it too. This song is a fun song, like people have been saying. And when I first heard this song, I just started laughing. I mean, who but Joni would be brave enough to put a line in there like Ray's dad teaches math? It's just so like simple and kind of, I don't know. It's weird. And yeah, so. And I don't get offended by the math thing there because, some people aren't good at math. It doesn't necessarily mean women, or girls aren't good at math just because this one woman sang about it like that. But yeah, and the whole, this is a good song to listen to in the car. So it's like the whole groove is the whole motion of the song is the drive, and so it's a fun song. At first I was so shocked that Joni came up with these kind of lyrics, just because her lyrics are normally so deep, and this is just kind of the opposite, the sheer opposite of it. So like I said, I started laughing. I mean, it's a good song. I like it.
I love how throughout Joni's career she can turn a car ride into music, and the music sounds exactly like the car ride feels. Like even from Hajira to some of the stuff on Blue, right up till Ray's dad's Cadillac. All right,
it bears that it's got a bridge.
Oh, could I interrupt? I had one more thing to say.
Sure.
I went to this party up there at Ruby Lake Resort, and I had never met Joni. And Les, he said, "You can remember this, Les?" He said, "Well, there's this party up there at Ruby Lake," and I thought he was pulling my leg, And he said Joni's going to be there, and so anyway, I called up there to the Ruby Lake Resort, and of course they're Italians, the people who own it. It's the Cosgrassi family, and Cosgrassi, and anyway, so I thought it was a joke, So I said, I was giving this guy hell, the owner of the restaurant, trying to get him to admit it was a joke, but it wasn't a joke. So anyway, went up there, and who should be there but Ray of Ray's dad's Cadillac, So I saw him. I didn't get to meet him, but I thought it was pretty cool that he was there.
All right, pause, and then Reuben.
Yeah, once again, I'm cast off with the girls being bad at math. Oh, gee. I don't get that, but okay. Whatever. I think this is a brilliant tune. I think it is. Yeah, it's real easy. And, everything that you said, Laura, about kind of the opposite. But there is a lot of depth to what's there. And I've always said I really don't care so much about how it related to her life as much as how it relates to me, or how I relate to her song is really what makes the difference in my life listening to her music. Right from the get-go, I have images of growing up in Honduras and going either out in Dan's car or in my parents' car with a shout out to Debbie Gardner and Leslie Meehan and Pat Wright. We lived in a valley called San Pedro Sula, and there was a mountain behind, up above our houses, and they had a drive up there. They called it the Caracol because a caracol is a conch shell, and so in the conch shell, it winds around inside the conch, and the animal that is the conch lives in there, right? So they call that the Caracol, and that's where everybody used to go up there and park and neck and whatever. And there was a great little drive-in place up there where you could get a beer and some banana chips and stuff. And so that's what we used to do, it would be a break from playing canasta at Debbie Gardner's parents' house or whatever. But all that, all those memories come flooding back from this song. And that's, for me, the brilliance of a song to have the power to do that for individuals. And so fast forward to my 2 years in college in Lafayette, so blue lights on the airport road. So we used to go out and do illicit shrooms and those kinds of things and go out on the runway. We would jump over this gate and then walk along a catwalk over a bayou to get to the runway, and we'd go lay out on the runway and have parties out there and smoke weed and whatever, and the planes would fly over, and it was just several couples and whatever having fun, and so that those images and all that kind of stuff comes flooding back, and that's for me, once again, the brilliance of a song like this. Very, very fun song.
All right, I have something kind of mildly intelligent to say, and then something really stupid to say. I'll go with the mildly intelligent first. Is I feel those moments of youth and romance and whimsy are just as important as those moments of self-reflection and philosophy and and hurt. So I think Joni does both so well on this album, which is why I love it so much. And the not very the not very intelligent thing I had to say is maybe if Joni was better at math, she would have never signed that 4-album contract with Geffen. All right, Reuben, you're up.
My daughter is a freshman in high school, and she was going around and around with pre-algebra, and she asked me yesterday, point blank, do you ever use any of this? And I didn't know what to say because the answer is always no. Like, no, you'll never use it again. But I've always liked the song.
Validated. My entire life now validated. Thank you. Because I said the same thing in Algebra 1, Algebra 2. Yeah, and geometry hasn't done me very well either. I bought a weird looking property, you know, it's geometrically weird.
I don't have a ton to say about this song, but I was rereading the liner notes to the box set from a couple of years ago, the big box set, and now the name is escaping me. The quartet, a ballet.
Love Has Many Faces.
Love Has Many Faces. And I remembered she said, and I just pulled it up. On the Hissing of Summer Lawns, she sampled these 3 trumpets to use as the bridge between Harry's House and Boho Dance. And then she resampled it because she thought it sounded like an airplane landing. And that's the sound you hear when she talks about the airplane landing, is a sample of the horns from that little piece between Boho Dance. I thought that was cool. Anyway, interesting production note.
Well, that's the same sample in this song?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's so cool. All right, Sue.
Okay, so when I first started listening to this album, I really hated this song a lot. And I felt like it could have been 3 minutes shorter. Like, just take out every, third Raised Dad Cadillac, and maybe it would be a little better. But, it grows on you, and I don't skip it anymore. I listen to it, but I remember I used to complain about it on the JMDL, but I appreciate everything that everybody said about it. It is a fun song. It's a part of Joni's life, and I just, it's like the choruses, they'll go so long. Or maybe it just sounds painful to me, so it seems like they're so long. So I'm sorry, guys, but I just had to say that out loud.
So I wonder if Joni ever has those catty moments where she pulls out her yearbook to see where the girls that were good at math from her high school, where are they now and what are they doing? All right. Do we have any other thoughts on Ray's dad's Cadillac? All right. So the album ends with Joni renting an efficiency apartment, stalking this guy that walks by every day. It's a song that the instrumental was recorded during Wild Things Run Fast, and it just sat on the shelf, and then she finally put lyrics to it for this album. And there was also a beautiful music video for this song, 2 Gray Rooms. I mean, we just talked about every song on this album, and from beginning to end, just amazing songs, and this one's no exception. So, the first hand I have up is Paz. Oh, no, Reuben, then Chris, and then Jim.
That was a leftover hand, but I'll talk about this one too. I love this song. It's so, in a weird way, cliche about the lover in the apartment, and but so sad. But it's so sad. Whenever I feel so sad, I just put this on and just wallow in the sadness. I love this song, and I loved it before I heard. There's a story that she heard about. I think it was the filmmaker Fassbender, who had a lover and many years later found out where he worked and rented this apartment. So it's apparently a true story. She told that on the video. I adore this song. If anybody else had done it, it would have been hokey, but she just pulls it off masterfully, I think.
I agree. All right, Chris.
The music sat waiting for the lyric for 7 years, I believe. It was 7 years in the making, this song. it was Fassbender was involved. I believe there was an interview magazine that has Paloma Picasso on the cover, and I have tried to find it. I have found it. It's too expensive for me to actually purchase because I do want to read his statement of what the story is. My understanding is that in the interview he speaks about the story, which I believe is a Christopher Isherwood story about an aristocratic gentleman who is gay and has somehow found a lover again, who, they broke up many, decades earlier, and is sort of creepily, as you have said, stalking quietly stalking anyway, sadly stalking from behind the window. And it with regard to just its place on the record here, I mean, what could be better than the idea of finding love and sending it out there and quietly suffering with it? I mean, there's almost nothing that Joni enables more than quiet suffering in so many of us. So why not actually, acknowledge somebody who's living that that moment? I think it's exceptionally strong, no matter who is singing it. I performed it, and Jamie sang it when we were in England, and I thought it was pretty much magic, to hear it, a baritone male sing the song. It really it gave it a really different resonance that it didn't necessarily seem truer. So, in terms of when somebody tells Joni Mitchell, you write sexless, genderless music, it's true. This is a perfect example of that, and it's one of her strongest love songs ever, however long it took for it to come by. It's beautiful, and I play it constantly because I cannot get over how just beautiful melodies and harmonies are all within the arrangement. It's just tremendous.
This is kind of a stupid story, but when this album came out, like we said, I was a junior in high school, and there was this guy, Brett, that would ride by on his bike every day doing his paper route. I'd always wait by the window for him to drive by. So that was my little 2 gray rooms moment. All right, we have Jim, then Bob, then Mark, then David.
Okay, guys, let's see. Well, I guess I must have been going through kind of a gray period or something. And Joni was, I know it was Simon. Simon released a recording where Joni was talking on the radio, and she brought the piano version of this along, and they didn't play the whole thing, but it seemed really, it really stood up for me as an instrumental, and I always wanted to hear the full version of it as an instrumental. And of course, it's not on this album, but it was on the Geffen box. And I almost would rather hear it without the strings, just like naked. To me, it's an instrumental. That's what it means to me. I'm out.
All right, Bob.
Yeah, I mean, it's a gorgeous song. Jeremy, you said, now Joni's got an apartment. This song has nothing to do with Joni. She's insistently said time and time again, this is not autobiographical. This is definitely a portrait song. We've discussed the basic thought of it, but it's truly an obsessive love where someone goes to the extent of getting an apartment and waiting for Monday. So I think the gentleman, the guy, was a dock worker. So the aristocrat in the apartment would just wait and watch for this guy to go by. And of course, it was not like, well, one of these days, I'm going to go out there and talk to him. No, it was just an obsession of a love from long ago. It's a very, very unique individual song. For me, it's one of these songs that only Joni could have given to us. It's just a thing of great, great beauty, sadness, very touching.
I feel like these days the dock worker would have an OnlyFans and the aristocrat could just subscribe to it instead of spending all that money on an apartment. Mark, you're next.
Well, this song is utterly gorgeous, I think, and it touches something deep inside of me. The Geffen box set liner notes say that she found the words in a magazine, like Chris said. It doesn't say which magazine it is, but an aristocrat is the way she puts it. And I know that is what the song is about, and I believe that is what the song is about. But I've always felt that when she sings this, somewhere in her mind, she's fantasizing about her daughter, about somehow finding out where she is and going and watching her. I don't know. That's probably way off base, but and there's just something about that concept of no one knows I'm here. One day I just disappeared, it's like, what would that be like? I think to just kind of drop out of your life and not tell anyone where you're going. I mean, it would be devastating to the people that, that love you, but what would that feel like? There's something about that concept that just sort of fascinates me. But I love the song. It's beautiful. This longing for something that was, that you can never have back again, but you will always want it. And it says he never approached this guy during this whole time. So anyway.
I think the powerful thing about this song for me is, even though the story itself is a little ridiculous, that sense of longing and unrequited love and desire is just so universal. But no matter what story you drop those feelings in, it can really have a resonance. And that's why, even though I would never get an apartment, I can relate to those feelings of just wanting something untouchable so badly that you kind of get in some crazy situations. So,
and somebody on the JMDL also speculated that the two gray rooms were the two hemispheres or whatever it's called of the brain.
That makes sense. All right, pause.
Yeah, who hasn't longed for somebody in a way that you have not been able to fulfill in whatever way? And certainly I have, longed for somebody that didn't even know I was alive or whatever. So any of those things, it could be anybody. And I've heard all those stories, especially on the JMDL over the years. And for me, it's one of my favorite songs to sing of hers on the piano. Although I don't play the piano part well. I should probably get a lesson from Chris while I'm in New York this week. Maybe a quick lesson in the lobby of the hotel on the piano or something. And but yeah, it's something happens in that pause where she says, right before she says, I took these two gray rooms up here, and then with a view. To me, that whole transition is just so powerful, and when you're singing it, for me, it's just it fills me up in a way like no other song that I sing of hers. I will say that I plan to play that one tonight, but I'm not in good voice. You can hear I've got a little rasp in my voice. I've had bronchitis all weekend, and it's just now getting a little better. But I would have liked to have done this one. But next time when we do the travelogue version or whatever.
Yeah, it's got to be on one of the compilations, so we'll roll it in there some way.
I just want to say that Michael mentioned the lyric, took these two green rooms up here with a view. And then the next line is, only when you walk by my window.
Yeah.
Below my window. Only when there's a view only when you walk by.
Now that I think about it, has anyone ever been in a room that was painted gray? Because I can't think of one.
I'm getting ready to paint my kitchen gray.
Okay. And I'm sure maybe it was a little more metaphorical than. All right, Sue and then David.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I mean, first of all, the piano and the instrumental, I listened to the instrumental not that long ago. And it's another, you know, reason why I think that Joni Mitchell is one of the most amazing classical composers. I mean, the composing of these melodies are just so incredibly gorgeous. And, you know, she's getting every award you can think of these days. And I just have this feeling like, I mean, she will be the Mozart of, you know, generations, you know, or, you know, the Joni Mitchell of generations, I guess you should say. I mean, because there's so many beautiful, beautiful songs that are like classical pieces, you know, and you know, the lyrics on some of them are not as, you know, deep as this. Like I think of Blue Boy, you know, which has a, you know, a beautiful melody, you know, and maybe I mean, it's just that longing that she gets from some of these chords that are just, they're deadly. I mean, this song is actually like I can weep listening to this song. And
Blue Boy is one of those ones that kill me too. I love playing that one. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's
Jack
amazing.
Nielsen used to do a version on guitar that was just stunning.
Yeah.
So soulful.
Yeah, and you know that we can talk about it like, you know, Down to You, and you know, I mean, and the lyrics have a theme in them, you know, of this whole intense loneliness that comes from desire, you know, and I don't know. I in some ways I wish I was happy-go-lucky and just listen to Debbie Gibson, and you know, like these songs don't really get to me, you know, but I feel them because I've lived it, you know, and you know, like when my father disappeared, you know, or when my ex-husband, you know, cheated on me so many times and then left me, you know, like, I mean, these things happened to me. And she, you know, she almost does this in a way to heal herself, but she's healing a lot of other people too, you know? It's like the incredible beauty that can come from that type of emotion. You know, it's just so amazing. I mean, I'm talking too much about myself, but you know, it's like I can feel it just by listening to the chords and the music. Like even the one that doesn't have the lyrics, you know. Yeah, there's so many of her songs that can really slay me, and this is definitely one of them. It's in the top. It's got to be in the top 10 of one of her greatest songs ever. I feel.
I agree. Do you sing along with the instrumental version, karaoke style?
Yeah.
All right, I have a few fleeting thoughts that I want to put out there before I lose them. Number one, I want to see a picture of the gray kitchen because it'll be beautiful. Number two, if you do meet in the hotel bar and do a version of this together, please live stream it. Number three, maybe she met the strange boy and found out that he was working in a factory many years later that she hooked up with on Hijira. And my final thought is, on the instrumental version, when she does the wordless vocals, she didn't use the same melody in the final version, right? Wasn't her original kind of sing-along totally different, if I remember correctly?
No, she plays more.
Right.
She's playing more melody in her playing.
She said that this thing wanted to be written in French. She said it had all the non-lyric.
Was this where she was talking about the diphthong?
Yeah, she said it had a lot of
the diphthong
that are not common to English.
All right, we have David, then Laura, then Jack,
thing.
and then Jim.
Yeah, I think I just want to say what Sue said. It wasn't long ago, I don't know, within the past 3 or 4 years that I saw somebody had remixed the video, but with the instrumental music, and I just sort of happened upon that on YouTube, and it slayed me. And I just thought, she's a bloody fucking genius. So this is one of, listening to this song, especially that version, was just one of the times that I thought, yes, I have not misspent the last 50 years of my life as a, Joni, yeah, she's worth it. This is amazing.
Can you send a link to that video on YouTube, please, David?
It's interesting because if I remember correctly, wasn't A Bird That Whistles left over from Wild Things sessions? So her last two albums got ended with tracks that she repurposed from Wild Things. Interesting. Okay, we have Laura and then Jack and then Jim. I was talking over you, Jim. I do apologize. I suck as a host sometimes. All right, Laura.
Oh, you're a great host. You're the best. Seriously. I like the thought that the two gray rooms might be the cerebral hemispheres. I think that's pretty cool. I had never thought about that before. And, as far as the beauty of this song, yeah, it's definitely there. And the story, is really good, but you just better not get caught. This is the perfect stalker song. And it's kind of funny because part of the way that I relate to it is, maybe some stalkish things I've done. But yeah, this song, and to think that the matching of the music and the melody were so far apart, that it took 7 years for her to find it. And I love the video with the mask, where she's in the gray room and she's looking in the mirror and she has the mask and all that. So anyway, that's it.
You think she was listening to The Police, Every Breath You Take, while she was peeping through the window? All right, Jack, you're up, and then Jim, and then Chris.
Yeah, first off, Coco wants to say hi to everyone. She decided she wanted to join the party. And I just want to comment, leave it to Joni to take a subject matter that is probably pretty creepy and turn it into like one of the most beautiful songs she's ever written. I love that aspect of it. That's all.
I think we can all agree, like, this song does not give me a creepy vibe at all. Like, at all. All right, Jim.
Okay, I think this is the song that is coupled to the story of the forbidden piano. And somebody else with a better memory will remember, fill in the details. Chris is nodding. Okay, so I'll start the ball rolling here. The way I remember this story was that they were recording something else. She and Larry were in a studio and they were working on guitar songs or something or synthesizer songs, and she was feeling kind of melancholy. I think it might have been one of these times when she was feeling like a cat among dogs, and she said, I want to get this piano song down. And they said, you can't play the piano because the piano has been tuned for, who was it, a classical artist, I think? No? Chris will fix me up here.
It was a pop artist. I don't know if it was the Carpenters, but it was some other group or an artist who used A&M Studios fairly.
I think it was Colombier.
Yeah, Joni's such a banger too. I mean, sure she would have just totally fucked it up.
My touch is so light. I had to laugh at that.
Oh yeah, she said, "Yeah, I won't play hard on it." She said, and now I do believe that it preceded Klein because Henry Louis is the engineer on this song, and he recorded this, which is kind of why. If Blackburn was here, he'd tell us exactly. He'd have Henry's fingerprint, all over this track.
Michelle Colombier is what this says.
All the more amazing because the legend is that it was one pass, it was one take. She said, I'll just play it once, and we'll put the tape back, and he'll never know I was here. And
When she was sitting at the
that's
piano,
why we love her, right? Just this one thing that was just like sticking in her mind. It turned out to be something that she held on to for 7 years before we finally got it. I'm out.
She told the guys at the studio, she's like, "No one knows I'm here. I'll just disappear." Press
Wait,
record.
so the piano track that's on this album was the original recording that Henry Louis had done before. She didn't recut it.
Nope.
That's interesting. I didn't.
Yeah, they just added layers on top of it. I mean, it's perfect. It's like a jazz thing where you just take the best track, whether it's, you just take the best take, whichever one has the magic on it.
Yeah.
I don't think there are any clams on it either.
No.
She did it in one take.
And Jim, to expand on your story, wasn't it that it was all dudes in the studio, like you said, and she was feeling left out because she was, there's all this male humor, and which you can hear all that cock rock on Wild Things Run Fast. So
And she said it was scatological type humor or something, and she felt that they'd be embarrassed if she tried to get in on that.
I don't blame her for wanting to leave and record 2 Great Rooms. All right, Chris.
Well, I was going to ask if Mike, are you sitting next to your piano? Why don't you give us a try at the
I'm not.
instrumentals?
No, and I'm in terrible voice today. Yeah, I gave it a fling earlier this afternoon just to see, but no, I'm in terrible voice, and I don't want to desecrate that song.
That never stops me.
Well,
you got to protect the brand.
You have seen me fuck up a song before, but yeah.
No.
I wasn't trying to fuck it up.
This has to appear on a compilation, doesn't it? Somewhere.
So, yeah, we can do a best of songs that we didn't get to hear, because I definitely like to do Blue Boy for you sometime. I like doing that one very much.
Cool. So Bob, how many people covered on 2 Great Rooms?
This one, we got 18 covers. On this record, you've got kind of bookends of covers. Night Ride Home is in the top 25 of all time of her songs with covers, with nearly 50. This one has 18. First one from Ellen Metzger in 2002, which was, I guess, kind of a landmark year for this record in covers. Lots of these firsts for Night Ride Home came out in 2002. More famously done by Chaka Khan on the 75th anniversary DVD and album. And then I mentioned this before, Tom Wopat, the brunette-headed actor from Dukes of Hazzard, did a male version of it and changed the lyric to "Hot days, her hair's undone." He's singing it about a man who's obsessing over a woman. So the lyric is "Hot days, her hair's undone." And my guess is Wopat's probably gay anyway, so it's kind of silly.
But the lyric is "Hot day, your hair is undone." Right?
Well, no,
Yes.
Hot day is his shirt's undone.
Oh, that's right.
It says his. I thought it said
Your shirt.
Hot days, your shirt's undone.
It was
But if you're
genderless.
singing about a woman, he didn't want to sing about a woman with her shirt undone walking down the street. So he changed it to "Hot days, your hair's undone."
You know what's interesting is this album definitely has a legacy.
I've been singing this wrong all these years.
There was a music thread going on with a bunch of music nerds here in Tampa, and people started talking about Joni Mitchell, and a bunch of people said, "Man, you got to hear Night Ride Home." So this album definitely has found its audience, and people love it beyond just the diehards out there in my travels. So I don't know if anyone else has experienced that, but it was cool to get some unexpected love for Night Ride Home, because I just think it's just as good as anything she's ever done, in my opinion. I guess we
It's
forgot
"Hot
to do
days, your shirt's undone."
Oh.
Not. Yeah, it says at least, unless Les is wrong, which I don't think that's ever happened before. Les, it has happened before. Unmute yourself. Defend thyself. Space bar.
No, it's all you. Hot days, your shirt's undone. Rainy days, you run.
It happened once.
It's genderless, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we forgot to do the thumbs up and
beautiful.
thumbs down, but we give all the songs thumbs up on this album, don't we? Mostly.
Nope.
There's not a bad song on this album.
All right. So, do you have any other thoughts on Two Gray Rooms or anything Night Ride Home before we wrap up? Did I pass out? Take a NyQuil.
This is one that I did have a hard time finding on vinyl years ago. I think it was only released in Europe, and I do have 2 copies of it, but the way that they're printed on the inside, the ink sticks to the gatefold, so it pulls apart and it messes up the black ink inside. But anyway, small thing.
I didn't even know it came out on vinyl. Did Turbulent Indigo come out on vinyl ever?
I don't think so.
Interesting. That's a record store day exclusive waiting to happen. All right. So let's go around the circle. Night Ride Home on a scale of 1 to 10. We're going to start with my upper left, and then we're going to work our way around. Chris, you're up first this time.
Yeah, we're doing 1 out of 10, huh?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going with. I tried. Hajira was the 11. And
Yep.
then there. I think I'm giving a couple of 10s. I'm gonna give this 9.5, 9.5.
9.5?
Yeah, not quite the 10, but it's damn close.
Damn close. All right, pause.
Yeah, I give her a 10. I love this album. It's definitely in the top ones for me. I'm definitely the later albums. I mean, For the Roses is the earliest one that I'm really in love with. And Ladies of the Canyon came in later on. I appreciated it more after the fact. But this one is very high up there, along with Hijira and For the Roses for me. So yeah, big 10, Joan.
All right, David, you're next.
I'm going to go with a 9.5 with deductions for the windfall. I'm not with you on the windfall.
That housekeeper's out there smiling somewhere.
What do you have against Guatemalan housekeepers?
Oh, damn. All right, Bob, you're next.
For me, it's a 7.5. Windfall is a big solid negative on this record, so that's a big deduction of a full point. I also deduct half points for Only Joy in Town. Ray's Dad's Cadillac, I was almost at 3/4 of a deduction. And again, you have to think of the bar that this album is held up against, right? You're talking about Court and Spark, Hajira, Hissing of Summer Lawns. This is a fine record, but it's nowhere near, in my opinion, it's nowhere near those masterpieces. So yes, I enjoy it, but to be able to say it's a 9.5 or a 10 is a debasing of albums that truly are 10s.
All right, Les, you're next.
I believe you. I'm sorry. I take it all back. Take me to the dean. Grade inflation. It's my fault.
We should be burned at the stake.
I started too high out of the box.
I'm not one of those critics. What's the guys that the movie critics? Yeah, I'm not doing
Skull
this.
Ebert.
This is for me, not for anybody else. So
That's
I don't
right.
give a shit what anybody else says.
There's no right or wrong. All right, Les, you're next.
I agree with Bob. I think the 70s albums were such monumental, Everest towering figures that you can't, I give it an 8.
All right, Mark.
Well, I really do love this album a lot, and I think it's very listenable. Yeah, it's not on a par with those other albums, but I think it's different from those other albums. So I'm going to give it a 10 as well. And no disrespect to Hajira or the Hissing of Summer Lawns or any of those other records.
It's how it makes
on
you
merits,
feel.
I think it's worthy of a 10.
Ooh, this is controversial. I love it. Sue, you're next.
Yeah, I understand the whole thing about comparing them to the other albums. Because if you rank it, there's going to be a bunch of albums ahead of it. But I still have to give it a 9 because I really love it, and I love it for its themes, and I love it for some of the really, I mean, Two Great Rooms brings it to an amazing level. I really love Coming from the Cold is just an epic song. And it's funny because since my guitar is tuned in this tuning, I've been practicing Slouching Toward Bethlehem, and holy shit, what a great song. I mean, her tunings on this album are incredible too. Like some of the sounds you get out of the guitar with these songs are just, I mean, they kill you. So
We're going to have a weekend of open tunings at the end of the month for my birthday.
We go
March
nuts.
31st, babe. Sue and Paz in Vegas
I got a
live.
date, man.
I am jealous.
Yeah,
Jerks.
awesome.
Come on down.
Reuben, you're
My
next.
last chance.
You got your don't hurt yourselves on the slot machines, man. You gotta work those guitars.
Please stay away from that dry cleaner.
They won't even see us.
I would give this a 10 as well. I like this as much as I like Hajira and Hissing and my other favorites. And it's Joni. She's older. She sounds different. Her music sounds different, but I think this is just as good for me.
All right, Jack.
I would give it a 9. Based on like the story I told of my friend who I've lost, the ride we took out in the country listening to this. That's such a special memory to me, and listening to this album always makes me smile. So that's why I give it a 9. Plus, Two Great Rooms is so freaking gorgeous.
All right, next we have Jim.
Okay. Within the context of Candy-O and Boston 2, I would take this album any day. I'd even take it over Boston 3 or Chicago 5 or The Point of No Return. So within those contexts, I'm giving it an 8. I'm giving it an 8.31.
Amazing. This podcast is the damn best thing ever. All right, Laura, you're next.
Well, I don't want everything for nothing. I give it a 10.
Oh!
Yay, Arkansas. Woohoo!
All right.
This is just such an awesome album. I love it. And yeah, like Jim was saying, it's better than so many other people's albums. But for Joni, it's right up there with me. I mean, I would like to listen to this one rather than some of the younger ones. I could listen to it longer.
What I think would be an interesting exercise at the end of all this, for especially the people that feel so strongly about, ranking them in a way of her work or whatever, is to take all of the albums and then rank them accordingly.
Oh, gosh.
From top to bottom. And it would just be because something has to be on the bottom, right? I mean, undoubtedly. And there's no clunkers for me except for those two that we talked about recently that, I still find some goodness in them, and they've grown on me. Just wait till we get to Shine. Oh my God, how many people hated that record?
Oh, I love Shine. But I didn't like the orchestra albums. That's where I checked out.
Oh.
So that's going to be controversial. All right, so my ranking, I gave all the 70s albums a 10, but there's more songs on Night Ride Home that give me the deep feels, whether it's joy, sadness, romance, than on Hissing. I'm definitely more of an Only Joy in Town kind of guy than a Jungle Line kind of guy. And let's also remember that I did give Chalkmark in a Rainstorm a 10. So I'm giving Night Ride Home a 10. I don't care. 10.
You go, Jeremy. It's your show. You can do whatever you want.
I guess. I don't know. But how fun has this been? This has been so much fun. And we're meeting again next week to talk about part 1 of Turbulent Indigo, because we know we're not going to get through the whole album in one day, right? It's just not going to happen.
It always feels like we can, but no.
Yeah.
It won't happen.
Even Chalkmark was like a 3.5 hour discussion, right? All right, friends. Well, thank you so much for meeting on this off date. We didn't originally have this one planned, but you know, when it comes to these albums, we just got to split it up into 2 parts sometimes. Thanks to my Patreon subscribers and to the YouTube followers, and most of all, no, I got 2 more things. Thanks to all my friends here, and most of all, thanks to Joni Mitchell for making so many albums that we have to rank a 10, because you're the best. All right, I will see you all next week. Turbulent Indigo.
World peace.
World peace.
World peace. Exactly. Well said.
Bye, friends.
Bye.